7 years since Rosalind Wiseman first wrote the book called Queen Bees and Wannabes. It's a popular book dedicated to helping teenage girls survive cliques, gossip, and torment. Well, now she's out with an updated version highlighting technology's influence on a girl's social life. Rosalind, good morning.
Good morning.
Well,
Thanks for
a lot
having
has
me.
happened since you wrote this book, and it's become the movie Mean Girls, and you're also a teacher. And so you've really helped people in looking at how teenagers can adjust in these social ways. But now technology has arrived in such a big way, and there can be this kind of stress using texting. What's your best advice? What's the biggest significant change this has caused?
Well, I mean, I really had to think about when Queen Bees came out a couple years afterwards. I thought, things are changing so fast that I have to revamp this. I have to rewrite this because things are just, especially with technology and especially with girls, parents kept coming up to me and saying, don't you think it starts younger? And that's a pretty leading question, actually, right? Because they think it does. And I think lots of times, actually, girls are starting earlier with the kind of behavior we're talking about, with being mean to each other. And the reason is because sometimes girls are being trained to be older. Like, instead of being more mature and being more responsible, we're wanting them to be teens earlier, which is crazy.
Is technology playing into this?
Absolutely.
Why?
So,
how?
Because girls are, of course, they're texting and they're instant messaging all the time, and there's this opportunity for parents to use technology to really say what their family values are. And it's hard because we think that, you know, if we can't program the phone, or we have to depend on our children to program our cell phones, then we can't talk to them about and guide them through technology. And that's not true. And so I really wanted to be able to say, you know, in all the work I do with boys and girls, because I've always worked with boys actually equally, that, you know, this is the lay of the land. This is how it's changing. And this is not about girls being nice to each other or being friends. This is about how you learn to be socially competent, about how you learn to speak when you see somebody who's being cruel to each other.
So it's kind of like having manners in a fun, I mean, that sounds so simplified, but fundamentally good manners towards another human being. And the problem with texting, and I think, I mean, I love texting, but you can say things and wish you hadn't with texting that you would probably never say out loud to someone's face.
You can do it, I mean, right, you can do it, you can have self-righteous temper tantrums, you can, I mean, and really when kids, they can do it as soon as they're on any kind of social networking experience, like, you know, Webkins or Club Penguin or anything, you can use any of those things to be mean to each other. So we need to teach our children, we need to teach our girls and our boys to make sure that they are responsible and have manners and
when
also
they're
be socially competent. Because I'm really, what's important is that with the success of Mean Girls, that when we talk about, you know, people like to talk about girls being catty and superficial and that kind of stuff. That's not what this is. This is really about girls being able to be socially competent, to be able to talk about when things are bad for them or when they see things that are bad. There are moments of social injustice in their life that they learn how to speak, and they learn how to speak well.
Okay, let's talk about some email questions that we have for you. We've got one from a mother in Kansas. She writes, somehow overnight my tween child has become the kid that is uncool to hang out with. Girls move away when she walks up, make mean comments, change places in line when next to her, and don't call back without an explanation. What should I advise my child to say or do? Should I get involved?
Right. Okay, first of all, you should not get involved right away. And the other thing is that this is a very classic thing that parents do. I mean, the very beginning of that was somehow overnight that this happened. And one of the things I want parents to realize is that from the perspective of the kids who are being mean to the child, it is not somehow overnight. They feel like they have very good reasons for why they're doing what they're doing. Now, for parents, that's incredibly difficult to think about, because it's like, this is your kid, you love your child, and you think your child's wonderful. So the first thing is you got to figure out is it's not sort of somehow overnight. The second thing I would do is I don't want parents manufacturing friends, like, oh, go be nice to this person, because people who are mean to you, if you're nice back to them, they're not going to say, oh, thank you so much for being nice. They're going to be like, okay, now I get to work you even more. So it's really important that when you need to sit down with your kid and say, okay, here's the deal. Who do you think has the most social power? How do you want to talk to this person? Exactly what are they doing that you do not like? And you are going to go up to that person one-on-one, and you are going to say exactly what you don't like and exactly what you want. And you don't have to be friends. This is not about being friends. It's about being able to speak your mind when you're uncomfortable and when you're feeling isolated. And any step of this you do is a success. But the other part is, you know, it's like, well, aren't the kids going to be mean to me if that happens? Well, you have to choose your misery. Like, you have misery that people are controlling about you, right? And you say nothing and you just deal, or you're nice to them and you just hope for the best. Or you choose your misery and say, okay, this is going to be really, really hard, but I'm going to have some control over this situation.
All right, we have one more time for one more question. That is Martin in Washington State. He writes, I'm a youth pastor and work with tweens and teens. I also have a 6-month-old daughter, but I'm wondering, do girls pick their friends, cliques, or do friends pick the girl?
That's a great question, and I think in some ways there are some grades in schools where you just have all of a sudden this thing happens where you get a grade and they are always like that. You know, for that reason, I wrote a novel that is going to be published in January so that we can talk about these issues in more important ways.
Well, we've got, obviously, we could talk forever, but we've run out of time. I'm so sorry. Rosalind Wiseman, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I want to remind people the book is called Queen Bees and Wannabes, and you can read an excerpt, by the way, on